Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I figured I would record kind of a shorter video here outside on my patio. It's beautiful outside and I wanted to talk about something that I was inspired to talk about by Liz Brody, who is someone that I follow on Twitter. She recently posted a rant online on Twitter kind of about how a lot of people on YouTube are talking about the fitness community, and I'm one of them, right? I've talked pretty extensively about the fitness community and how I feel like my values don't align with the fitness community, and how many times it's easy to feel like your journey is not valid if the rest of the fitness community does one thing and you can't do that thing, whether it's because you don't have access to that thing, or you don't have money, or you are never going to look like that, or you don't compete, or you don't do the things that the fitness community values. But something that Liz Brody brought up that I thought was really, really poignant is that is not the fit community, right? What we see on social media, and unfortunately fitness has been turned into something that is about social media. But if it's all you see all the time, you know, everyone is sponsored by one company, or they're all part of one group, or they're all doing one thing, whether that's competing or going places or wearing certain things, then you are bound to believe that that is what fitness is. But what Liz Brody points out in her rant is that that's not what fitness actually is. Fitness is so much bigger. And then this little section that we see on social media here on YouTube that I'm a part of, and also on Instagram and on Twitter and on Snapchat, it is like 0.1% of a much larger fitness community that incorporates way more than just Fitspo. Fitness community is something that's much, much larger. There are runners, there are powerlifters, there are ohilyssas, there are weightlifters, there are people who are just into general fitness, there's people who are into Pilates, there are people who are into bar calisthenic work. That's how I met Kyle. He was really into bar stars. You know, one of my friends, Bonnie, she does pole dancing, right? And these are all aspects of fitness, but those things aren't nearly seen as much, or at least they don't show up on my timeline as much, or maybe on your timeline as much, because you follow a certain niche of people. And so there's a couple things that kind of happen here. One of the first things is that if everyone that is on your timeline, or everyone that is sort of on your social media following platforms is doing one thing, then those things start to show up over and over and over again. And you start to think, okay, well, these things have value, because pervasiveness and the ubiquitousness of a certain product, or something like Nike or something like Coca-Cola, we as human beings ascribe the pervasiveness or the ubiquitousness of that product with value. And if you value something and you see something that is being valued and is getting engagement and is getting attention all the time, then you are going to want to follow in line with those things. And it only makes sense, because if we believe these are the things that are valued, well, we all want to be valued. We all want to feel like our journey is valid, or we want to feel like the things that we're doing are important as well. So we will start to mold and shape ourselves towards those things. And many times we will find ourselves in a place where that feels false, or that feels fake to us. Just to give you an example, there is this amazing book by Jamaica Kinkaid, and it's called Lucy. And there's this moment, and this book is about post-colonialism and feminism, and but there's this moment when Lucy recites this poem, "I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud" by William Wordsworth. But she comes from Antigua, which was a colony of the British Empire, and so she's in this school sort of put on by her colonizers, by her oppressors, and she's reciting this poem, and she does it beautifully. She remembered all the words beautifully, you know, she said it in English and everything, and she gets all of this praise. And right at that moment, she says in the book, it is at that moment where my two-facedness was most clear to me. She said, I felt false, and I immediately knew that when I came home that day, I wanted to unlearn every single word of that poem immediately. And it's because she realized she was being praised for something that she was sort of forced to value. The same kind of vein of post-colonial literature, and Jamaica Kinkaid writes this upon seeing England for the first time, and she says that sort of her head is against the glass, but she has an iron vice at her neck forcing her to look through the glass. And I think that's what happens to us if we can imagine that glass as being a window or a frame on Instagram or here on YouTube. You know, you have this gaze into this glass, and you're looking at things because you're on the outside and you want to be on the inside. You want to be valued and appreciated. You want to fit in. But at the same time, you have this iron vice at your neck, and it's pushing you against that glass, telling you this is the only way to find value. But unfortunately, what else is there? Later on in Jamaica Kinkaid's quote of that glass analogy, that window analogy, she says, you know, and if I fell back, I would fall into nothingness because there was nothing left. And again, these are concepts that she's using to talk about colonization and imperialization. But I think similar things happen to us when we are taught that this is what is valued and you should seek these things so that you can also feel valued. Because if you step back from that, where will you get validation from? Where will you fit in? Where will you feel important? And I'm not saying that we immediately have to throw out all social media, or that you have to not follow these people any longer, or that I don't want you to not follow me or talk to me or, you know, converse with me about the things that you're struggling with in your own fit journey. But it is important to be conscious of the ways in which you are gazing in on things many times that you are on the outside of. And it's not necessarily always your fault if there's this vice at your back, this vice at your neck that is forcing you to value things that our society as a whole does value. So I think really what this leads us to a conversation about then is how myopic our gaze can be when we are only looking at fitness through one lens. If you are constantly seeing the same things over and over again, those things are valued. And if you always value those things, then you're going to want to shape yourself that way. And if you always shape yourself that way, that's all you see, that's all you interpret as valuable in fitness. I think what Liz Brody was trying to get at is, if you are ranting about the fitness community and all the bad things about the fitness community, then sometimes you maybe need to take a step back and think, maybe this is not the actual fitness community. This is only a tiny little niche of the fitness community, and fitness itself and the larger fitness community is actually a really beautiful and awesome thing, full of people that are not just the social media popular people, but people who do things that are wildly different, or people who don't have social media at all but are super involved in fitness. Maybe fitness is only really bad if you look through just one lens. Unfortunately, though, we are often forced to look through just one lens at the fitness industry because what receives popular attention on social media and various platforms is just sort of one monolithic type of fitness. And this type of fitness is often thin, lean, white, rich people. And that is not representative of the larger population of people that are involved in fitness-related activities. It's easy to grow jaded with the fitness industry or feel disillusioned if you only have one understanding of what fitness actually is. So it's sort of a cycle. You think that fitness looks like this because society's taught you and social media teaches you that this is what fitness is. So then that's all you ever see. And so that's all you think that fitness is, and you grow more and more disillusioned because you're going around in a circle instead of stepping outside of that circle and saying, hey, the fitness industry is actually something that's much bigger, and actually I can find a place for myself. Maybe it's not going to get as much engagement on social media platforms, but that's not just what fitness is. Fitness is not being popular on social media platforms, coming from someone who has a platform. It's those moments when you are by yourself and you are growing and spreading your wings and changing and evolving and learning more about yourself and pushing your body to the limits. And those things can't be captured in just tiny little lenses on social media. You might be able to post a PR, you might be able to post a show photo, but those things don't show the internal transformations that have been happening all the while behind the scenes. There needs to be a conversation had between people about things not existing in a vacuum. Many times when we go out and buy things, it's not just because we really like it, but it's because we've been influenced to like those things. And also that the fitness community is so much bigger than just what you see on social media. The things that are valued on social media, if you don't value those things, find another fitness community that does value those things. And I think that's what I'm starting to realize more and more, that there are people, including Liz Brody, who I'm, give a big shout out to her because her rant on Twitter was just awesome. I'm finding more people that are interested in thinking critically about their positions, about their platforms, about leveraging privilege, about talking about things that are important to them, and showing that their lives are so much richer and fuller than just one lens on fitness on social media. So I hope that this was helpful for you guys. I hope that you enjoyed this talk. I'm going to start doing more little mini talks, critical thinking chats. That's what I'm going to call them.